At 8 years old, Daniel stood in the doorway of his house, small suitcase in his hand. His mother hugged him. His father patted his shoulder. His younger brother waved goodbye from the stairs. They said it was just for a few months. Daniel would stay with Aunt Grace just until things settled down. 30 years later, Daniel was still waiting for them to come back.
Hello,
And the
Michael.
next time he saw his brother, Michael
Hello,
was sitting
Michael.
across from him, asking for a job. If you are not yet subscribed to Turning Point Tales, hit that subscribe button right now and drop a comment telling us where in the world you are watching from. Now, let's get into this story. The Johnson family looked perfect from the outside. Robert and Helen, 2 sons, a house, a life. But inside that house, there were 2 different childhoods happening at the same time. Daniel was the older boy, quiet, careful, the kind of child who cleaned up without being asked and never caused trouble. Michael was 3 years younger, loud, bright, funny, the kind of child who could walk into a room and make every adult smile. And Helen and Robert smiled the biggest. It was not something they talked about. It was just there. The way they looked at Michael when he walked in, the way they explained away every bad thing he did, the way Daniel would sit quietly at the table and watch his brother get one more chance. Again, Daniel noticed. He was 8 years old, and he noticed, but he said nothing, because Daniel was the strong one. That is what his father always said. Daniel is strong. Daniel can handle things. He said it like it was a compliment. It was not a compliment, it was a reason. When Daniel was 8, his parents made a decision. Aunt Grace, his father's sister, lived 2 hours away. She had no children. She had a quiet house. She had always loved Daniel. Robert said, "It will be good for him. Fresh air, more space. It is only for a few months." Helen told herself the same thing. Michael cried when Daniel left. He stood on the stairs and waved. He was 5 years old and he did not understand what was happening. Daniel understood. He was 8. He understood everything. He picked up his suitcase. He hugged his mother. He let his father pat his shoulder. He looked at his little brother on the stairs, and he walked out. The few months became a year. The year became several years became forever. Except nobody said forever out loud. They just stopped making plans to bring him home. Aunt Grace was not what Daniel expected. He expected someone temporary, someone who would hand him back soon. What he got was a woman who put his drawings on the fridge, who learned his favorite meal by the second week, who sat with him when he had nightmares, who came to every single school event, every single one. For the next 15 years, she never said bad things about his parents, not once, but she made sure Daniel knew one thing. She said it to him when he was 10. He had asked why his parents did not visit much. She sat down next to him, looked at him directly. She said, "Daniel, some people are not brave enough to love properly. That is their failure, not yours," she said. "You are not what they left behind. You are what I found." Daniel did not fully understand it at 10, but he never forgot it. Daniel grew up in Aunt Grace's house. He was not a perfect student. He was not the smartest person in any room. But he worked every morning, before school, after school, at the weekends. He watched Aunt Grace work 2 jobs for years without complaining once. And he decided something. He decided that nobody was coming to save him, and that was okay, because he was going to save himself. By 25, he had his own small business. By 30, he had her first real office. By 38, he had a building. Not because life was easy, because Daniel treated every hard thing like a lesson he needed to pass. He called Aunt Grace every Sunday, the way you call the person who kept you alive. He bought her a house at 32, she cried. He told her she was not allowed to cry. She told him to mind his business. He laughed. For the first time in a while, he laughed properly. Michael grew up getting everything, every excuse, every second chance, every bill paid, every problem solved by someone else. And when you grow up like that, you do not learn how to stand on your own, because you never have to. By his late 20s, Michael had gone through 3 jobs in 2 years, left each one before anything got difficult. By 30, he had borrowed money from his parents twice. Neither time paid back. His father always said, "He just needs time." His mother always said, "He is finding his way." But at 38, Michael was not finding his way. He was lost. No job, no savings. His relationship had ended. His confidence was gone. He sat in his parents' house one evening, and his father asked him, "What is your plan, Michael?" Michael had no answer. His mother found the job listing online. A growing company, hiring senior managers, good salary. She printed it out, put it on the table in front of him. Michael looked at the company name. He applied. The interview was on a Tuesday morning. Michael wore his best suit. He had prepared. He had rehearsed his answers. He walked into the building. It was a nice building. Very nice. Floor-to-ceiling windows. City views. The kind of office that tells you something about the person who built it. The receptionist smiled, took his name, told him someone would be right with him. He sat in the waiting area, looked around. He saw a photograph on the wall, the founder of the company, cutting a ribbon at the opening of the building. Michael looked at the photograph. He stood up slowly, walked closer. The man in the photograph. He knew that face. Before he could process it, the assistant appeared, said, "Mr. Johnson, he is ready for you." Michael walked through the door and stopped, behind the desk. In a sharp, dark suit, completely calm, was Daniel, his brother, the boy he waved goodbye to from the stairs 30 years ago. Daniel looked at him. He said, "Hello, Michael." His voice was quiet, no anger, no drama, just, "Hello, Michael." Michael sat down slowly. His prepared answers were gone. His rehearsed words were gone. He said, "Daniel, I did not know this was your company." Daniel said, "I know." Michael said, "I can leave. If you want me to leave, I will go." Daniel looked at him for a long moment. Then he said, "Tell me why I should hire you." Michael talked, not the rehearsed version, the real version. He told Daniel about the last 3 years, the jobs he lost, the money he wasted, the relationship that ended, his parents' house, the printed job listing on the table. He did not make excuses. Something about sitting in front of his brother made excuses feel impossible. He said, "I know I was given everything. I know I did nothing with it." He said, "I am not asking you for a favor. I am asking for a fair chance." He said, "And I know I have no right to ask you for anything. After everything." Daniel was quiet for a while. He looked at his brother. The little boy who waved from the stairs was somewhere inside the man sitting across from him. He could see it. He thought about Aunt Grace. He thought about what she said to him when he was 32, and still angry about things he could not change. She had said, "Daniel, never punish people for what life will punish them for anyway. Life is already doing its job. Your job is something different." Daniel said, "You start Monday, entry level, same as everyone else. You earn everything here. Nobody gives you anything," he said. "That is the only offer," Michael said. Yes, he said it like he meant it. Michael started on Monday. He was not treated differently. Daniel made sure of that. Nobody on the team knew they were brothers. Michael worked, really worked. For the first time in his life, there was no one to catch him if he fell, and instead of falling, he found his footing. By month 3, his manager gave him a good review. By month 5, he was leading a small project. By month 8, he was the first one in and the last one out most days. He called Daniel one evening after work. He said, "I understand now," Daniel said. "Understand what?" Michael said, "Why you never came back angry." He said, "I would have been angry. I would have been angry for 30 years. Daniel said, "I was angry. For a long time," he said. "Aunt Grace helped me put it somewhere useful." 6 months after Michael started, Helen and Robert came to Daniel's office. Michael had finally told them everything. Where he was working, who his boss was, what that meant. They sat in Daniel's office, the same office where Michael had sat 8 months earlier. Helen looked around the room, at the building her son had built, the staff outside the glass walls, the city behind him. She started crying before she even spoke. She said, "We thought you were strong enough," she said. "We told ourselves you were strong enough to be without us, that you would be fine, that Grace would take good care of you," she said. "We were not honest," she said. "We took the easy path, and we called it the right one." Robert sat with his hands together. He did not speak for a long time. Daniel looked at both of them. He was not angry. The anger had been gone for years. He said, "Children are not supposed to survive without their parents. They are supposed to grow up with them." The room went completely silent. Robert began to cry. His father, the man who always said Daniel was strong enough, crying quietly in a chair. Helen covered her face. Daniel stood up. He walked around the desk. He sat in the chair beside his mother. He said, "Aunt Grace was the one who stayed," he said. "She was the parent, not with anger, just the truth." Said gently, said finally. Helen reached for his hand. He let her take it. They sat there for a long time, not saying anything, just sitting. Sometimes that is what 30 years of distance looks like when it starts to close. It does not close all at once. It just starts. Daniel called Aunt Grace that evening. She answered on the second ring. She always answered on the second ring. He told her what happened, all of it. She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "How do you feel?" He said, "Like something heavy," finally put itself down. She laughed softly, said, "Good," she said. "I raised you right." He said, "You raised me everything." Some children are sent away and become hard. Some become bitter. Daniel became something else. He became the man who built something worth coming back to, not for them, for himself, and for the woman who put his drawings on the fridge and never once made him feel like a burden. Aunt Grace, the one who stayed. If you enjoyed this story, please like this video and subscribe to Turning Point Tales. We will see you in the next one.